First of all, thank you very much for welcoming us in this wonderful event. I want to congratulate the organization and thank Marco for the invitation. That's a great honor for us to be able to talk about one of the markets we will truly believe in, which is Morocco. My name is Adrien Zamaras. I'm in charge of international business development in the Altres Group. Sorry, the presentation will be in English. We don't speak Italian, unfortunately. I hope you will understand everything. What we want to do today is to present the Moroccan business, and we have someone that is an expert of the Moroccan economy, Amin Diouri.
Hello, I'm glad to be with you today. And first of all, I apologize for my accent, English accent. It will be a little bit difficult.
So what I propose to do today, maybe, yes, just for you to know, so Amin is quite used to the media, so he's recognized as one of the experts in Morocco of the Moroccan economy. So he will be doing the main presentation today, going into all the macro and payment stuffs. And I will go through the presentation of the group and give you the example of Altres, a French company that decided to invest in Morocco, and try to make you understand why we did that and what is the potential of the market. So first of all, as a general presentation, Altres is a French company headquartered in Paris. We are the Cribis of France, I would say. That's the best way of defining it. So B2B information. We recently expanded to Benelux, so we do about 120 million euro revenue in France and Benelux. And InfoRisk, represented by Amin, is the leader of the B2B data in Morocco and Maghreb. And in 2016, we decided to join our forces to invest in Morocco. That was a big step for us. And let's say there were three main reasons or three elements that pushed us in that direction. First, the potential, of course. We did our business plan, and we thought that the ROI was worth investing in that region. And we really believe that Morocco is a place of growth for the next years. The second element that is important is cultural. The business language in Morocco is still French. They speak French among each other. So for a French company, that was easier for us to enter this market. And also, you can find young and talented people there, meaning that once you've launched the activity, there are people that can operate for you. They are educated under the European standard, and they speak English, French, and Arabic, which is also important fluently. And the third thing that was very important, and that's why we called our joint entity InfoRisk Altres Africa, the third thing is Africa. And there is a big trend going on there. The population of Africa is about to double by 2050. And Europe had turned its back to Africa over the last 10 years, and now we are going back there. And one figure, 500 million people will speak French in Africa by 2050. 75% of the French-speaking people will be African. So many companies now are investing in Morocco as a bridge to reach the African market, and Morocco is very much involved in the African development through its banks and all in its industries. I will conclude this introduction a bit long by a quote from the former king of Morocco, Hassan II. He used to say that Morocco was a tree with its roots in Africa and its leaves in Europe. So that's really the politics of this country today, to become a bridge between Europe and Africa. So I will now leave the place to the real expert, Amin.
Thank you.
That will talk about Moroccan economy.
Thank you. So I will try during the next 20 minutes to give you a realistic view of the Moroccan business environment. So doing business in Morocco has become much more easier since the beginning of this decade. The Ottoman government when the Ottoman government came into power in Morocco last year, the Prime Minister set the improvement of the economic climate as a priority. He relies on the improvement of the doing business ranking. The priority is to reach the top 50 ranking in the next 2 years. So I will talk about the political environment, which is very important. Morocco is spared from terrorist attacks and from the adverse effect on the Arabian Spring in 2011. Morocco is experiencing a stable political environment, in particular compared to its neighbor, Algeria and Tunisia. The came to power of the Islamist party the same year, that means in 2011, hasn't changed this political climate, favorable to business. Yesterday, a US rating agency confirms Morocco's sovereign rating at BBB with stable outlook. On the other hand, this agency has downgraded the sovereign ratings of Algeria and Tunisia. So, since 2011, the average GDP was around 3.5%, with 1.2% in 2016. In fact, despite the Moroccan economy is very diversified to industry or services, the GDP is still highly reliant to the agriculture sector. It explained the very low growth of the economy in 2016, which was influenced by a bad agricultural season. Furthermore, the official inflation rate stays very low, about 2%. Lastly, at the beginning of this year, Morocco reformed the exchange rate regime from fixed regime to flexible one, which will not have impact on our economy at short term. As we can see, the accession of the King Mohammed VI at the end of the 90s marks the beginning of an impressive catch-up of its GNI, that means gross national income, during the 2000s years. And now we are very near from our neighbors, Maghreb neighbors, like Tunisia, Egypt, and Algeria. So Morocco has a deficit trade of 17 billion US dollars, driven mainly by imports of foreign products, especially Chinese and Turkish. The main customers are Mediterranean countries, Spain, France, Italy, which represent almost 50% of Moroccan export. For the suppliers, we almost find the same countries. China takes the place in the top 3. Besides the historical industries in Morocco, which are textiles and phosphate, I remind that the first national company in Morocco is OCP, world leader in phosphate. Besides the historical industries, Morocco has developed new industries. Automotive industry with Renault and PSA, for example, which brought with them all their ecosystem of suppliers. Finally, the aeronautical ecosystem is developing very well in Morocco with the implementation of Boeing or Bombardier, for example. For the import, the country is heavily reliant on the import of petroleum, oil, and gas. So Morocco is an open country on the world. He has signed many free trade agreements with the European Union, with the USA, Turkey, Arab countries. But Morocco cannot benefit of these trade agreements because of the low competitiveness of the Moroccan industry. That's why, at the beginning of this year, the country decided to stop for 1 year the free trade agreement with Turkey about textile industry because the local market was totally dominated by the Turkish competitors. On the other hand, for the last couple of years, Moroccan foreign policy, as Adrien said, has been totally focused on Africa, with whom Morocco achieved positive trade balance. Okay. As I said in introduction, a lot of my government priority has been to improve Moroccan doing business ranking, thanks to the many laws improving the business environment, a law about insolvability, about personal property security, and now Morocco's rank is 69 before Tunisia, Egypt, or Algeria. Okay. Morocco has 1.4 million of legal companies which are divided between very small enterprises, which mean companies with less than 1 million turnover, 89% of the total of the enterprises in Morocco, SMEs 10%, and big companies 1%. A big issue in Morocco is the informal sector, because of tax issues explain the great part of the informal sector. I will have to speak about the Moroccan world industries. So at the beginning of this decade, the Moroccan government defined some priority sectors like automotive, offshoring, electronics, and aeronautics. And the government has put strong incentive for investors, donc free taxes on benefits, free repatriation for profits and capital, exemption on value-added taxes, exemption on professional tax, special custom procedures, and very cheap land. All is done to attract foreign investors, not only French investors, but all investors. I will go very fast on this slide. Morocco today has a very interesting infrastructure. I'm talking about a free zone area like Tanger Med, Tanger Free Zone. This year we will have TGV. We have one of the best telecom and internet infrastructure in Africa. I will pass the tax issue. All easy. So the issue of payment deadlines in Morocco is central. The inexorable lightening of the deadlines in recent years has led to an explosion of the business-to-business credits, which today exceeded the bank credit. I will talk about this one. So in Morocco, in average, you have 106 days for deadline terms, but it's only the average term. If you look for example, small businesses, which represent 90% of the enterprises in Morocco, we are talking about 300 days of payment delay. 300 days, 10 months. For SMEs, it's 153 days. And for big companies, we are talking only about 103 days. Talking about the new law. To resolve the problem of payment delay, the government has put a new law about the delay payment. So payment delay is less than 60 days from invoice with no written agreement. If there is a written agreement, now you can go until 90 days. All companies are included in this law, public companies and private companies. We are talking also a launch of delay observatory and possibility. I have to talk about the penalties for no respect of delay payment. It's 3% for public companies. I will go fast for that. You have to remember 40% of bankruptcies due to the payment of delay in Morocco. This one, which it's much more important. In an environment where payment delays have become almost natural, the delicate issue of recovering bad debt is central. Between 12 and 18 months, in average, in Morocco, it's necessary for a simple case of amicable recovery. More complex cases require more time for final judgment with an effect. So the question is now, how to guard against the risk of unpaid? What tool exists? First of all, you have to be very careful with the contractual elements. That means general condition of sales, contracts, delivery order, a large number of litigation between companies due to the lack of these essential elements. It's essential to perfectly lock the administrative and legal part to avoid any claims later. If you want to prevent for all these risks, you can also use a database on tools available like scoring, credit limits, sectoral ratios. You have also credit insurance in Morocco. The 3 credit insurers you have Hermes, COFAS, and the local player SMAEX. You have also factoring, which is very expensive. But all banks, all major Moroccan banks have their factoring subsidiaries. Another point, given the difficulties of debt collection, many collection companies have emerged. The activity is not regulated in Morocco, so be very careful with these companies. And I go to the conclusion. So I recapitulated the main point of the conclusion. So highest growth country, a political stable. We are a major black spot with the daily terms, but it's a dynamic country with very important growth in future. And the last point for the football lovers, the Moroccan government want to organize the next World Cup in 2026, and they consider investing about $15 billion to improve global infrastructures. So we hope to win. Thank you, and thank you for your attention.